co-writer. He's so damn funny in the film. And he's running up the whole here.
They just went to the division of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go Birds!
It says a lot that you came to watch the movie.
I was watching.
Dedication all around. Congratulations. This is, by the way, you've been out and about promoting this movie. We're closing out your style. You're the last audience.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, thank you for coming.
So give me a sense. I mean, look, all projects are personal when you're a writer, director. Do you see yourself reflected in this film through the form of this script you collaborated on, through the story that's partially based on a true story? Do you see yourself in there?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, I love movies. I grew up like movies like my savior as a kid. And I always felt like, I don't know if you feel like this, but like, you feel like you get to know the filmmaker, don't you? Way more than an interview. Like, and so that was one of the things I loved about being able to enter into this profession, and then ultimately being able to write and direct, is like that I could really sort of express sort of what's going on and observations and experiences through art. And so yeah, everything is personal. Yeah, that's really the goal, is to just try to be, you know, really vigilant about that, about just making sure it's as specific and as personal in a way as possible.
This one comes out of a personal relationship, a long-time friend and collaborator. I mean, the Rocker fans must be very excited. This is a long-awaited
He's
reason.
referencing Will and Arnett and I did the Rocker together.
How many Rocker fans are you out there?
2! And we also did the comebacks. I don't know if
That's
you did that.
true, that's true.
Dave Keckner, Dad Shepard.
How many come back? No, we're not gonna do
Yeah,
that.
there we go.
This one.
Who sold Zootopia 2? Is it a masterpiece? Yeah, this is a runner-up we had all night, sorry. I had that, good
That's
stuff.
just for us.
Yeah. But we mean it, I mean it.
He means it.
He hasn't seen it yet.
I will, right after this running off into Zootopia 2.
This is amazing. It's incredible.
I believe it. It's incredible too.
It's not just me, billions of people agree with me.
Taking this on the road. Okay, but you and Will Arnett go back 25 years. Part of this is just born out of a conversation. Friends saying, hey, what are you up to? What are you up to? And he was working on the script, correct me if I'm wrong. What did you see in this when he told you about what he was working on?
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole reason I did the movie was, you know, he's been my friend for 25 years, and he was talking about this movie about he was developing with his writing partner, Mark Chappell, about a real comedian, this guy, John Bishop in the UK, whose origin story we plucked some plot points from, which is that one night he was selling life insurance, I think, and he and his wife split up, and he walked into a pub one night, didn't want to pay the cover, and they said, well, you just put your name down, so he did. Not even really realizing what that meant, and then they call his name up, and he had to go up on a stage and do comedy. It was an open mic night. He started talking about his divorce. He didn't know what he was going to talk about, and he got a couple of chuckles, and he kept going back, and he actually fell in love with this thing that he never even thought about. And then weeks later, or maybe even a couple months later, he was still separated from his wife. They're now back together. But she came into the pub with her friends, and he was doing a set that night about his breakup. And so those are just two sort of anchors that, you know, if you wrote that fictionally, you'd think that that's not very plausible. So that's why I'm telling you that it actually happened. So.
I also love, I mean, we've all seen like stand-up comedy, that world depicted in film and TV. And to be honest, usually it feels so false. It's something just doesn't ring true. And I think you tell me how you kind of accomplished what you did here, but I think it's obviously shooting in the actual locations with actual comedians. You're surrounding Will with a real environment. Is that how you think you were able to accomplish something that felt, I don't know, something so true?
I'm glad you say that. I mean, that was a huge, goal for me. Is, I moved to New York when I was in grad school, and I did this movie called Wet Hot American Summer, and I met all these guys from the state, and then Upright Citizens Brigade was going on there, when Amy Poehler was a part of that back then, and then I was actually able to go see live stand-up comedy. Richard Pryor is my hero since I was a kid, but I never saw live stand-up. So from then I always started to go, and so I feel such a huge connection to that world, and I've observed the culture and how it's evolved. And I would love to try to figure out a way to cinematically, represent that to you all. So that was so I thought a lot about, shooting the whole thing on with one lens, that aspect ratio, it being handheld, it all came out of going going to the cellar, how can we figure out a way of doing it? And then everybody that you see in the cellar, all the people that are there, they all work there. The waiters, waitresses, that's all who works there. That band plays there every other week. Liz is the manager of the cellar. If we went to the cellar right now, Dave Attell would be outside smoking a cigarette, no question. And so yeah, it was just about like, can we capture this energy that's so infectious there in the movie to be a story point for Alex, that character, to find himself in a world in the basement of this restaurant where there's like-minded people that he's going to feel comfortable to express himself. Which is what I felt when I moved to New York, and all of a sudden, like, I was the guy in Philly who talked about movies, and everybody was kind of annoyed with me. And all of a sudden, I found myself with 4 or 5 guys who, like, also felt that way. We were in New York City, and it just was this incredible time. And so that's really where all that came from.
Did the audience always know what they were seeing? Like, what did those audiences experience?
Yeah, so Will Arnett went up. We thought it'd be a good experience just to go up. So he would go up as Alex Novak, the character. And for the most part, people would know who he was, so they're kind of in on the joke. But, you know, a lot of tourists come through the city, and there would be nights where, like, they didn't know who Will Arnett was. So he's like, I'm Alex Novak, they're like, okay, and then he's not really scoring a lot of the jokes, and there's, like, crickets, and there's, like, one guy in the back laughing, and that was me. So it was an awesome experience.
So it's a great
For
choice.
me.
At least someone got something out of it. So it's obviously a great place setting for part of the story, but it's about so much more than that. And it's obviously really key to this whole story. It's not only Will's performance, but his relationship, Alex and Tess. Laura Dern, someone you've known for a while also. You've never known him before, right? And I was telling you before, and it strikes me, and I'm sure it struck this audience, there is such like an unspoken history that is conveyed between those 2 actors right from the get-go. I'd love to hear a little bit about casting Laura. I guess like if you can get Laura Dern, you get Laura Dern. That's the casting problem there and solution there. But give me a sense of sort of how you helped foster an environment that created the relationship we saw.
Yeah, I mean, that was all, you know, it's always a leg up. We shot this movie so fast, and we rewrote it so fast, that the saving grace was that I've been friends with Will for 25 years. I've been friends with Laura for about 10 years, and they signed on before Will was developing. But for the rewrite, you know, we had actors that you're then writing characters for the actor, which is always a huge advantage. And Laura's such a great writer herself, and so I was constantly, you know, writing and showing her stuff, and really wanted to create a character that I thought would be challenging for her. And it was very, you know, that she grew up acting since she was a kid. She was not a part of team sports, so that whole world was very alien. And so to watch her, you know, be in a vulnerable place, even shooting that volleyball scene was something that was not easy for her. Just to see her, Laura Dern, is such a reminder, you know, and no matter who you are, you know, especially, you know, with acting, you always are starting at 0. Like, I'm sure if you go to the theater and you see a great actor, and sometimes you watch them fail, and it's kind of a wonderful thing. You're like, oh, right, we're all the same. It's like, it's hard, and it doesn't always work. And to just see somebody go through that, and to see the artistry of that was a wonderful thing. But the whole movie hinges on the 2 of them and their intimacy, and they knew each other sort of very generally, but they put so much time in preparation and just the amount of dedication that they had. Because the movie starts out, you don't really know much. It's sort of an aside, let's call it, right? Yeah, okay. And then it's really all about, well, hopefully you being invested in them, but you don't find out anything really until that fight scene in the attic towards the end of the film. And it was all about, you know, that. And that also came from, you know, I have an 8-year-old, and so I know a lot of parents, and I've seen them, you know, split up, and there's not like a cataclysmic moment that happens. It's just sort of, you know, life sort of, if you stop communicating, you stop really knowing who the other person is, and the next thing you know, you just feel like you're completely separate from them, and that was something I wanted to explore, the truth of that.
I also love you talking about sort of the accumulation of small moments. I mean, this movie ends so powerfully and so beautifully, filled with hope, that great iconic song that's just done so well. How did you structure the film? Like, did you know right from the start when you started reworking the script, like where you were headed, how you wanted to end?
Yeah, it always helps writing for me. It's like if there's a North Star, so the North Star was there, and it was just about how are we going to get there, and do it in a bit of at least for me, an unorthodox way of just not, you know, not piecemealing it. It's through behavior and circumstance. and going off of these eddies, but then eventually coming back together. And again, that was the challenge for the actors. It didn't really make it easy for ourselves in that way. But yeah, I always knew where that North Stars. But that scene with Balls, I wrote Wall at the end there when he brings the bagels, because really I just wanted to eat Apollo bagels on set that day. The Apollo bagels are the best. No? I love Apollo bagels. Anybody know Apollo bagels? Yeah, right. Like,
More than no comeback. More than no.
Anyway, so sometimes as you realize you needed that moment of somebody, and I always wanted Balls to be the fool, you know, and that's why his interest in pratfall, and in the end, he actually winds up giving the sage advice, you know.
Thanks for naming that character Balls. It makes it fun for
I can't take credit for that. I inherited that name. That was the name that Mark and Will had come up with. He was a character, not the Balls you know, but it was just a character. And I was like, well, we gotta change that name. And then I was like, maybe if we don't, I just figure out, you know, who is Balls. And that actually wound up being the inspiration for the whole character.
I'm obsessed with that character. I love the spin-off film. Your entrance in the film, iconic. The pathological, psychotic way that he cleans up with a paper towel roll speaks volumes, I think.
Right, oh good.
I'm sure it was. Inspired by anyone in particular? Who is Balls?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's me. Maybe. But no, not inspired by anybody specifically, no, not at all. Yeah, but he was very fun to write, and he was very fun to act.
You kind of referenced this. This is a quick shoot. This is 33 days in New York. It has that energy. I'm sure we're all New Yorkers here. It feels like a New York film, and I mean that in the best possible way. It feels authentic. Did it have a different pace, a different vibe, a different feel than Stars Born, Maestro, based on the pace?
Oh, yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah, completely different. Yeah, each one of those films, at least in my mind, rhythm is everything. It's how I think about writing and dialogue. I love writing dialogue because of the rhythm of it. And yeah, I mean, Stars Born and Maestro, to me, yeah, they're completely different rhythms. Yeah. But also story,
Right.
at least in my mind.
And obviously thematic similarities. I mean, you're investigating, you're excavating romantic relationships in all its forms. Like this is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think of it as romantic relationships. I just think of it as relationships. I mean, that's sort of what I think about, and the way we interact is all about our communication with each other. So yeah, that's what interests me. You know.
Mentioning before about kind of the breakneck speed of the shoot, 33 days. Are you stealing any shots?
Yeah, we stole a lot of shots. In fact, I love to. Well, we shot stuff before we started shooting. If that makes any sense. But like, I got a camera, and Will was in New York, so I started shooting around New York City, and some of that wound up staying in the movie. It actually was part of how I arrived at shooting just with one lens. But yeah, I mean, we had a relatively small budget, so it was a lot of the benevolence of the New York City. The cops allowing us to allow them to cross 6th Avenue one time while the lights were changing before they were going to arrest us. Because I'm like on the belt around on the dolly at 8:30 p.m. At 6th Avenue and 12th Street. And then a lot of people were outside the cellar, running to get waivers after they pass because they're not, what are you guys doing? So yeah, that's part of the fun of it, and that's how I wanted it to be. And we all talked about that at the beginning, this is going to, want it to be as just sonically, visually as realistic as if you're just there.
A big difference for you also when you mentioned, you have a role in the film, it's a supporting role though. Is there less weight? Is it a different dynamic for you not having to be with the co-stars at the center of the frame and being a supporting player?
I mean, definitely it's a different dimension of it. It didn't feel like any less weight, but it's just, it's very, very different, of course. Yeah, but I never operated before, so I camera operated most of this movie, so that was, my takeaway for this movie really is experientially is the burden and also the joy of operating.
Did you find that's joy for you and it's joy for your actors, having, because I mean, that intimacy, again, that's the word we keep using in all of your films, and especially I think this one, must be achieved. But when you're this close to Will or Laura operating the camera, that's gotta, I mean, if you don't feel a connection there, something's way off.
Well, again, goes back to the fact that we've been such great friends for so many years that I think you have to ask them, here on whatever like that. But right, Will? I mean, something's wrong with Bradley. Stop this. Zootopia? Zootopia 2? Messages. So that really helped, and in fact, again, because, you know, the reason I did the movie was for Will. I mean, that was the thing that got me excited. And it was a really benefit that we know each other so well, and that I was able to be so close to him operating that you know, it's great, it's scary enough as it is to jump off the cliff as an actor when you try and really just to actually be real in an imaginary circumstance, but not act. So for me as an actor, I've always loved it when the director's holding my hand and it feels as if we're both jumping off the cliff together. And that was what I wanted to give Will. So being able to operate and direct and be right there with him, and because it's a 40mm lens, when we're close, you know, all those kind of, you know, if you're Will, yeah, I'm like right, you know, here. So it is very intimate.
What's the most common Bradley Cooper direction? I asked Will, or what's the thing you say the most?
Oh, gosh.
I don't know, man. Maybe like no bullshit. I just thought no bullshit. Maybe.
That's important to have that for your
Which I inherited from David Russell, by the way. I used to say that, and I was like, right, no bullshit, no bullshit.
What's it like if you have a good BS meter as a director?
Well, yeah, you just beginning, you know, just actually, I know what to say. Breathe. That's what I say all the time. So just breathe, like on camera, like just stop, just calm. We're just, you know, because you start thinking about so many things. Like, no, you're right here. You did all the work. Like anything, like in sports, so you know, breathing is everything. It's like, yeah, you did all the work. Now just what's in front of you.
Is that what you told Charlie, your dog?
Charlie doesn't like direction. We're referring to the dog in the movie. Yeah, he's like, he comes on set, he's like, bro, stay away from him. I got it. Did anybody catch that he flushed the toilet?
Yeah.
Yes! Amazing. That was something I was like, he did it, like I turned the camera and then Will's walking away and then Charlie just came out of the bathroom. Like, and I thought, what, how did he know? I was like, I gotta put a toilet flush sound in, right? Of course. And I thought the studio was gonna make me take it out, so when I showed the studio the final cut, I was just like waiting for them, and then it ended in like just silence. And they're like, yeah, it really works. And they're like, I have one question. There's this smell of water when the dog's walking in. And I was like, really? Is there? Is that? Oh yeah, I didn't. Yeah.
Charlie was in Star is Born as well, right?
Charlie's a dog, and my character's dog, and that Allie brings to him in A Star is Born. Yeah, he was a puppy then. Yeah, and he was incredible. He wouldn't eat the steak. I remember I was like, he's gonna eat the steak because I didn't want him to eat the steak, and he didn't eat it, and he sat right in the garage, in front of the garage yeah.
You're just like one step away from a full-on Charlie vehicle, like a Beethoven.
Yeah, the next thing I'm writing is it's all him, and it's a 40 lens, and it's just his face breathing. It's gonna be amazing. Not quite Zootopia 2, but we can. On that note.
On that note, a couple reminders as we enjoy the holidays. First of all, happy holidays, everybody. Thank you for sharing part of your holiday weekend with all of us.
Actually, it means a lot. Thank you. It's so cool you came tonight.
So yeah, this is opening weekend for this film. Give it some love, spread the good word, because this is a passion project. This guy needs to keep making movies. He will, thankfully. And more importantly, spread the good word of Zootopia 2. It needs all the help it can get. But in all seriousness, give it up for the one and only Bradley.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Josh. Thank you. Happy